Hi, I'd like to introduce you to McGregor's X and Y theory of motivation. When we look back to those three variables that influence individuals' motivation with the organizations, remember we have the individual. We have their job and task environment, as well as the manager and how the manager influences that individual in the job task environment. McGregor's X and Y theory of motivation centers on how the manager sees the individual. Essentially, this theory looks at individuals who are either individuals that behave with X characteristics or Y characteristics. So let's first consider the X theory. So McGregor's X theory kind of paints a negative picture of an individual. If you look at these factors, it's assuming that employees are unmotivated and lazy. It assumes as a base point that actually employees dislike working and they need to be controlled. It assumes that individuals are motivated solely by incentive and that they'll avoid responsibility at all costs. It also assumes that employees seek security in decision-making. So if you look at all of these factors and assumptions, at the heart of this, you would have organizations that are very hierarchical, very rigid and controlling in nature. There's really no opportunity for independence, and in fact, independence wouldn't happen because managers would assume that there's an incompetence there, and that the only way competence could be achieved is through incenting and financial reward to then motivate an individual. Now, McGregor didn't necessarily believe that individuals could be all of this, but it was a starting point for his theory. If we look here at the Y theories, the Y theory assumes that employees are happy to go to work. It assumes that they are self-motivated and creative. It assumes that employees are self-directed and like to take that initiative, and that those individuals are motivated by achieving a goal. In fact, it assumes that they seek responsibility and can make good decisions. So quite the polarity here. This sort of organization is a very participatory organization, empowering individuals, giving them a voice and choice, and assuming that they're motivated individuals. Now, how can we be one or the other? Well, we're not. That's the danger. Now, what I want you to take from this and understand, and McGregor wants you to understand, that employee behavior and how we manage them is very much dependent on the situation. In fact, people generally aren't just X people or Y people. As managers, we have to look at the situation, and we have to look at these overlapping areas and understand that in certain scenarios, certain employees might be motivated more here or might tend to be acting more here. But as we look at motivating our individuals, we have to look at the greater picture. We could get in certain trouble if we start painting a brush of our employees with all of these general assumptions on an individual. So consider the situation, look at the big picture. McGregor would recommend it that way.